Coach, first of all, great seeing you. Thanks for the time. Let's jump right in on Marvin because one of the things that I noticed really early, and I had your Cotton Bowl last year, so saw him there and got a chance to chat a little bit. He is a pro. It's like you forget he's 22, just turned 22 a week ago. How quickly did you figure out how professional he is and buttoned up and detail oriented?
Yeah, it started when he first got here. He and Emeka Buka both, they were in the facility all the time, and they were in the facility, working on the playbook and what to do and watching film. But they would just wear out the jugs, and to the point where we got this one machine where you can just wear it on your belt and press the button, and the balls just keep coming, so you could be there by yourself. And then finally, our strength coach Mick Marotti made a rule that Marvin had to bring somebody with him. He couldn't just do it on his own. But he always, from when he first got here, showed up prepared, practiced at a high level, and played that way. And I think certainly it's well documented that his dad prepared at a high level, and I think he instilled that in him. But you still have to do it, and he really did when he was here. The thing I say a lot of times is that, for somebody who's very, very talented, typically they don't always have the discipline or skill that you need. He had both.
When you were recruiting him, was it pretty clear that he was going to be a Buckeye immediately, or did it take a long time? Because obviously he had great interest around the country.
Well, when he was actually at LaSalle his freshman year, and I was recruiting Philly at the time, and I think he would tell you I was the first one to start recruiting him. At that time, we didn't know what he could be, but certainly had the pedigree, and but then quickly saw him grow. But for a long receiver, sometimes it takes a little time to grow into your body. And I remember watching him in the IMG game when they played them, and you could see him come into his own, and you could see he was growing into his body. But to say even at that time we knew that he would become the player that he is today, that would be a stretch. But quickly when he got here his freshman year, you started to recognize, and I think he took that big step in the Rose Bowl his freshman year. And that was kind of when we realized we had something special.
Do you feel like his skill set is perfect for this level? You've coached at this level. You've been around it. You've been around great receivers
Yeah.
at Ohio State. So is his skill set setting up for early success here with the Cardinals?
Yeah, his route running is very, very precise. He understands how to leverage defenders. He can play on contact. Makes contested catches. Run after catches is very good. Has the length and the catch radius that you need. His quickness. And when you look at him, he's tall, but what you notice is his torso is low to the ground, so his ability to change direction. Sometimes the taller guys, like their torsos are high, their legs are longer, so they have a harder time getting in and out of cuts. Not with him. You just see like the way he's built. It's his torso is a little bit lower, so he gets in and out of breaks faster, can transition, create contact when needed. But yeah, I think he's going to be an excellent pro. I think his skill set really does translate well.
It's interesting you mentioned that on the torso. I was sitting or standing on the field before the preseason game against the Colts. I do the games with Ron Wolfley, and he and I are watching, and we said the same thing. He almost looks like his dad from like torso down, but then he's 3, 4 inches taller
Yeah,
than his dad.
that's right. That's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, and it's funny though, but that's proportionally that's how he's built. I do think that matters. I do. I think that the quickness has a big part of that.
I want to ask you about another Cardinal who played for you, Paris Johnson Jr. He played multiple positions in Columbus. He was the Cardinals' right tackle last year. He's switching to left tackle this year. How do you think the experience there with you moving around on the offensive line will help him make this transition here in 2024?
Yeah, well, he started when he was here at tackle, but then we moved him to guard, and he played his sophomore year mostly at guard, and then we were able to transition him to tackle his third year. Which, by the way, it'd be nice to have some of these guys for our fourth year, just for the record. But but you saw him play his best football, really the second half of his third year, and he started to get comfortable at left tackle. But he was at right guard there again for a good portion of his career at Ohio State as he was transitioning out because we had some elder tackles here at the time, but he wanted to get on the field, and that's a tribute to him. It's a tribute to his mom and the way that she raised him. That really of a growth mindset because that is going to pay off. And you don't know why, because you're one of the top recruited guys in the country, and a lot of guys would say, "Well, no, I'm only playing tackle. I'm only a tackle. I'm not going to put that on film. I'm not going to do these types of things." He didn't care. He just wanted to compete. He wanted to be a Buckeye, wanted to win games, and those experiences, I believe, really helped him. And playing on the right side of the line there for a whole year, had to have helped him last year playing at right tackle. But the versatility and understanding how to leverage guys inside is different. And when you're playing outside now, it's the length and the space. So he can do both, and I think that experience helped him.
What were your interactions with him like? He's such an interesting guy. He's incredibly smart and has a lot of off the field interests, whether it's writing for the school newspaper there, all the different languages that he studied. But he's still nasty on the field. Like he still loves football. So, what were some of your conversations like over the years with him?
Yeah, I remember the first time, watching his film, he was always nasty, like you said. But then watching him play, he um, played at Princeton his senior year, and playing at St. X leading up to that, and he just always had that, like you said, that off the field, he was a gentle giant, but on the field, he was nasty. And I went to see him play live at one point, and he was just getting after guys, just finishing plays, playing physical. So you knew that. And then when he got here, he was like, that's going to be a part of my identity. That's going to be who I am. And that's what I want to put on film. And so, that was, something that, he wanted to make sure that he brought to the NFL when he left here. And he's going to play very, very physical. He's going to finish. He's going to play all the way to the whistle. And so, but that's his makeup. And like you said, he's a well-rounded person. And I think that, I said this when he got to Arizona that, he was going to have a major impact on the culture there. And, I believe he will.
He has already. It's remarkable. In fact, he and Marvin very similarly. Even though Marvin's a little quieter, they both had an impact just with the way they carry themselves and their professionalism. Another guy that's had a big impact here is the head coach, Jonathan Gannon. Not sure if you guys have ever crossed paths, but he's in year two. And I just had him on the pod, and we were talking about, some of the challenges that you face in year one and how you grow from year one to year two. Can you think back to, when you take over full time at Ohio State, year one to year two? What did you learn, and how do you think that could, some advice maybe for JG in terms of handling the challenges of going from year one to year two and the growth that you go through?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't give advice. I wouldn't go on record doing that. But my experience would be that, man, you learn every single year. I mean, and you learn a lot. Um, the number one thing for me is making sure you have the right people in the right seats, and that's a lot easier said than done. Making sure that you have the right players there that are going to embrace your culture, and then having the right coaches in line for the alignment and to teach your players exactly what your messaging is, and then doing a really good job of making sure you're clear about what the mission is, what the expectation is, what the standard is on a daily basis, and holding guys accountable. And that's the first few years, like those are the things that I really learned a lot. And then as you get into year 5 and 6, you start to learn more and more about how the season goes. You kind of try to document what you've learned from the years previously and try to go back and fix those and make them better. But ultimately, the job of a leader is to look along the horizon and figure out what's coming next. What's coming down the road here in September? What's coming down the road here as we head into the playoffs? What's those types of things. And the more experience you have, the more you remember those as opposed to learn them, just like anything else, just like players are doing in their first couple of years.
JG is a DB's guy. He was the D coordinator, in Philly, and safeties are his passion. You're a quarterback guy, and I don't think you've gotten enough credit. I know you're not looking for credit, but I don't think you've gotten enough credit for CJ Stroud and the success that he's had. In terms of being the head coach and the CEO and having to oversee everything, but also kind of still be attached to your passion and your strength. Has that been something that took time for you? Because you've got to oversee it all, but you know there's still an area of what you do that has gotten you to where you are.
Yeah. No, it's probably an hour conversation, that exact thing that you're talking about. But ultimately, like this year, I just had to grab on and embrace the fact that when you move up, you got to give up. Like when you go from, quarterback coach to offensive coordinator to head coach, like you need to do the job that only the head coach can do. If you're doing a job of somebody else, then you're taking away from what your job responsibilities are. Now, that being said, in the game of football, you're still going to have an impact. You're still going to have say. You're still going to be around that part of it and hold guys accountable. But that was a challenge as well, and that's still something even to this year now. As Chip has become the offense coordinator here. That here are the things we've done. Here are the things that have gone well, and then he's going to integrate some of his things as we go along during the season. So like you said, I'll still be a part of it. I'll still have my hands in it. Just like when you look at some of the great coaches that have been there, whether in college or in the NFL, they're not just strictly CEO and not having their hands on the football part of it. I think if that happens, then you lose touch on what's exactly going on the ground level. So there is that balance there that, as time goes on, you get a better feel for.
You mentioned Chip Kelly, and he and I were texting after he got the job. And I know it was hard for him to leave the beautiful weather in Los Angeles, but he loves you, and you're his guy, and you guys obviously go way back. What's it like having him around? How's it different because you used to work for him and then you played for him before that? What's it like now where he, essentially he's working for you?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I think the thing you have is you have trust there, and I think both of us want nothing more than to have a great season this year and be able to look back on on a long time friendship and you know have a great season this year and put together a great run here at Ohio State. Um, you know, Personally, but also for the players here at Ohio State, I think in a short time he's got an opportunity to see their special group here. But for me, it's trust that you can go into a room, you can have honest conversation, and leave the room knowing that there's a tight bond there, and I think the guys in a room feel that as well. But for me, it's also knowing somebody who has such an unbelievable experience and one of the best offensive minds in the game of football in the last 20 years. So that's a huge opportunity for me to step away and know this is going to be well done. We're going to have a great offense. It's going to be put together the right way, and then allow me an opportunity to get in some different areas.
Couple quick ones on the Buckeyes, Ryan. We'll get you out of here. I mentioned I had your bowl game last year. Obviously, you guys are in a tough spot, and it's unfortunately the reality of college football. With your starting quarterback decides to transfer before the bowl game, and then the guy that replaces him gets hurt. You guys are in a position that's almost impossible. Now you have Will Howard, who is very successful at Kansas State. How's he made the transition in terms of what you're looking for and your expectations for him? Starting here soon against Akron.
Yeah, he's learning a new offense, and I think it was all happening pretty fast in the spring. It slowed down for him in the preseason. He's really got a better grasp of what we're looking to do. He, we named him starter last week. We felt like he separated himself. He took command of the offense. He took command of the team. I feel like at times. The thing about Will is Will can beat you with his feet. He's tough. I think his throwing his accuracy has really improved this preseason coming out of the spring, really making some good throws and making good decisions. And so, he can come at you a bunch of different ways. He's also, played a lot of football and has experience. And anytime, again, that you're remembering as opposed to learning, then that bodes well. And, I think the more he can take the meetings to the field, take some of these new concepts that we're going to continue to throw at him and put it on the field at a high level, he can be as good as he wants to. He's got the weapons around him. He's got to take care of the football, make the routine plays routinely. When it comes to third down, red zone in 2 minutes, and that's what he's got to be at his best.
How do you feel overall you guys have kind of handled this new world of portal, NIL, As interesting, I saw Mike Gundy say something about the other day at Oklahoma State, the head coach there, that, hey, players, tell your agents, stop calling me. Call me in December after the season's over. The money's been sent out. If your contracts aren't signed, that's it. We're done. How have you guys kind of managed this crazy world we're in?
Well, the proof will be in the pudding. I think that, how do you to gauge that? You gauge how, what type of season you have, and then what type of culture you have. And I feel strong about the guys we have on this team. That we did add 7 guys in the portal. There's a combination of filling holes, and then the fact that when Coach Saban retired, there was an opportunity and some guys that were available, and so we took it. Took that as an opportunity to add bolster our roster. So, but it wasn't like we added 10 to 20 guys because at Ohio State you come in to get developed, and so we want to recruit young men and develop them here and keep them in the program and keep that culture very, very strong. So I think it's those two things, and to say it's day to day, it's not true. Week to week, no, month to month, getting closer. But I mean, it's kind of that way right now. It's definitely year to year, that's for sure. And so we have to continually adapt with what's going on. But we feel like we have adapted well. I think that we've put the right staff together, the right team together. But again, the proof will be in the pudding as we get going this fall.
Finally, Ryan, I know you're not going to coach any different, obviously, with this new playoff format. But in terms of, do you think coaches will have a different outlook in general, just because obviously the goal at Ohio State is always to win a national championship. But with this new playoff format, you could be the 11 seed and win the national championship. So, like, do you think coaches in general, depending on how things go, of course, over the course of the year, will kind of look at the big picture differently going forward?
Yeah, they may. They may, based on how everything's shaking out. But when you look at our conference, you have 18 teams in there now, and so you can't afford a bad day. You've got to do everything you can to get into that Big Ten championship game, and the first goal was to get that bye. So it's not like you're going to sit around and say, well, we can afford to lose or have a bad week or anything like that. I mean, it's just not going to be the way it is. The one thing that is significant, like when you look at our schedule, is you'll play the rivalry game the last week, in November, and then you have the Big Ten championship game, and then you have the playoffs. So I mean, you're going to have 5 to 6 strong opponents in big games back to back to back. If you make the run all the way to the end, and so I think as always, you have to be playing your best football at the end of the season. But that's going to be a little bit different. The lead time between each games will be different. So all things that we're preparing for. And adjust as time goes on based on how the season shakes.
Coach, great seeing you. Thanks so much for the time. Please tell Chip I said hey, and best of luck, Ryan, this season, man.
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely. No problem.
All right, bud. All the best. Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
thanks, man. Thanks. Have a great day.